Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Madeline Milka, President and CEO of APAICS, the Asian Pacific American Institute for Congressional Studies, and welcome to our panel addressing issues in API home ownership in partnership with Rocket Mortgage. We are thrilled to present this panel to discuss the unique challenges that the API community faces in home ownership and ways that we can address them. It's my pleasure to introduce KPAC Chair and APAICS Board Member, Congresswoman Judy Chu, who will be delivering opening remarks. Congresswoman Chu represents California's 27th District and is the first Chinese American woman elected to Congress. She serves on the House Ways and Means Committee, as well as the House Small Business Committee and the Budget Committee. Congresswoman Chu has always been a tireless advocate and champion for the API community, and we are excited to have her join us this afternoon. Please welcome Congresswoman Judy Chu.
Hello, I'm Congressmember Judy Chu, and it's my privilege to welcome you all to today's panel on addressing unique challenges to AAPI home ownership. After the past year and a half of quarantines and social distancing, home has become more important to many of us than ever. But the disparities in home ownership rates have continued throughout the pandemic. APIs continue to be less likely to own their homes than white Americans with similar incomes. And so I want to thank APAICS, Rocket Mortgage TPO, and the Asian Real Estate Association of America for leading this important conversation today. Buying a home can be one of the happiest days in a person's life, but it rarely comes easily, especially for immigrant communities. We all have a role to play to ensure that immigrant communities have the same opportunities as everyone else. As an elected official in government, I frequently work to ensure that language access is not a barrier to accessing any government-backed resource. One such example is my ongoing engagement with the Federal Housing Finance Agency to ensure that potential homeowners can access the Universal Residential Loan application in their preferred language to help promote home ownership for non-English speakers. So as I work with colleagues to ensure that government does not create additional barriers to home ownership for immigrant communities, I know private sector companies are also doing their part to ensure that AAPI families and communities are also served. Today's panel will highlight some of those efforts. For instance, Rocket TPO helps mortgage brokers and realtors grow their own small businesses by providing robust products and services that allow those professionals to focus on the most important aspect of their business, building relationships with their clients. The home buying process can be confusing, but having a trusted realtor and mortgage broker can make the process less difficult. This is especially true for immigrants and others who may not be English or home buying proficient. Think about things like credit scores and income verification that play a significant role when underwriting a mortgage. If an immigrant family has a thin credit file because they've recently arrived in the U.S. and do not have years of credit history, or if their income is self-reported because they own and operate their own small business, it's easy to see how automated underwriting systems could reject qualified immigrant applicants, adding to disparities in home ownership and prevent immigrant families from achieving that American dream. These borrowers are just as capable of repaying their mortgage as other borrowers, but they don't fit neatly into the boxes created by lenders and government alike. And that's why having trusted professionals to help these families navigate the process is so very important, especially when navigating additional differences in language. I'm grateful that Rocket Mortgage TPO recognizes the potential for serving the AAPI community by working with realtors and brokers to overcome barriers for would-be immigrant homeowners. So thank you to Madeline and APAICS for hosting this important discussion, and to all of you for the work you are doing to ensure AAPI families have the ability to access home ownership.
Thank you, Chairwoman Chu, for joining us today. We greatly appreciate you coming on to provide those welcoming remarks. Let's get started. I am your moderator today, so no introduction for me needed. However, I am pleased to introduce our panelists today. So first, let's start with Mike Fawaz. He is a senior vice president at Rocket Pro TPO, and in his 10 years at Rocket Companies, Fawaz held many titles, beginning as a mortgage banker in 2011 before quickly rising to senior director of mortgage banking. Fawaz was one of the first to join and lead QLMS, now Rocket Pro TPO, when their Detroit branch was created in 2017. So welcome, Fawaz. Next, we have Tuan Nguyen. He has been a California mortgage broker since 2006. Last year, he was ranked #1 originator in the US with over $2 billion in origination. With technology, consumer direct marketing, and continuous improvements in operation, Tuan is able to grow Loan Factory to 39 states across America. Thank you for joining us, Tuan. And next we have Amy Kong, an immigrant from Hong Kong. Amy has served the San Francisco and Mid-Peninsula real estate markets since 1988. Among her various national and local endeavors, Amy served on as the 2011 Chinese Real Estate Association of America president, the 2017 to 2019 Asian Real Estate Association of America Education Foundation chair, and is the 2021 ARIA national president. Welcome, Amy. All right, let's get started. I know we've got some really great questions here for you today, really talking about how to make this more accessible for the AAPI community. And so I'd like to start with Amy and Tuan with our first question. Can you each tell us your story? You know, how did you end up in the mortgage business, and what motivates you to help responsibly expand access to home ownership in communities across America? Amy, let's start with you.
Thank you so much. First of all, thank you, APAICS, for inviting, and thank you, Madeline. You did a wonderful job in introducing us. You make us look really good. And also, I'm so thrilled to be here to, have the opportunity to share our story and our encounter, right? I'm an immigrant from Hong Kong in the late 80s. First landed a job in San Francisco, Chinatown, working as a receptionist in one of the oldest real estate office. So shortly after, then I got an opportunity to learn from a very experienced mortgage broker to process home loan. And of course, become a realtor afterwards. While we opened our own brokerage on January 1st, year 2000, we also operate a separate mortgage brokerage for almost 8 years. Then we closed the operation that focused on real estate buy and sell activities. Certainly, we have to continue work closely with other lenders in order to get our transaction complete. I remember when I was in Chinatown working with primarily first-generation Chinese immigrant consumers, they really heavily rely on us to help explain and translate all the documents so that they understand what the document means and what they are entering into. I've heard from a lot of these people back then appreciate us because most of the time people would just ask them sign here and there. So as you all know, every consumer has their own challenges, right? Their concerns are very different, and even family situation, that not necessarily all product fits their needs. So without a bit deeper understanding on their need, there is pretty much no way you'll be able to share the best program and or resources for them to get into homes. Most of the time that we have to educate on how important credit is, show them how they can start building it instead of hiding all the money inside their cookie jar, right? Introducing some of the first-time home buyer program and government incentive, especially local here in San Francisco and the Bay Area, we have a lot of those. So it is our responsibility to really share with them and bring them to the awareness. There is such a things, available for them to get into homes. So due to my experience with my community, I was so glad that I found ARIA as well, right? The Asian Real Estate Association of America to serve, because their mission is really to promote sustainable homeownership within the AAPI community. So that's a little story about how I started and my little encounter. So how about you, Tuan?
Yeah, we have a similar background too. I came to the US when I was 20. I didn't speak English, but luckily I was able to work hard, study hard, and get into one of the good university, get education, and have a good job. But then I was struggle when I bought my first house. Even though I have education, I have job, I have income, I still feel confused by the whole home buying process. I cannot imagine people with no education or didn't go to college and totally unprepared for the home buying process. They would be very confusing. So after I bought the first house, I decided that I should be a broker, a mortgage broker, and I study online. My experience is a little bit different. I study online and get a license and open my office myself without any training, without any mentor. So it's challenging because it's not simple. The industry is complicated. But luckily, because I care for my clients, for the community, I work really hard and I'm able to gain their trust. Uh, but then when I'm successful in California, I have a lot of clients call me from all over the country and say, hey, Tuan, can you help me in Florida? Can you help me in Texas? I say, no, I cannot. I don't have license there. So uh, I feel bad whenever I say no to my client. I know that they're struggling. I want to help them, but I cannot. So I decided that it's time for me to get licensed in more states so that I can help more customers. And so therefore, I keep growing my company. I know that it's risky to go to another state, a lot of regulatory compliance, but because I really want to care for the consumer, I want to help them. I know that there are so many choices out there, but the consumer, they're always afraid. They don't know anything about the home buying process. They don't know about mortgage. They don't understand how to shop around. So I feel that broker is more effective in helping the consumer. It's easier for us to gain their trust. So that is my story. I just love helping the consumer.
Thank you so much, Amy and Tuan, for sharing your individual respective stories. I think it's so important that when we see a lack of that we can make an opportunity out of something that we're lacking, and so I think it's so wonderful that you were able to find that in your own way, and I think it will help others in understanding that there's opportunities for you, whether you went to school or whether you didn't go to school. So thank you so much for sharing that insightfulness. Fawaz, can you tell us a little bit more about Rocket Pro TPO and what's the organization's mission and vision when it comes to strengthening Asian Pacific American small businesses and helping the community build multi-generational wealth?
Absolutely. So first of all, thank you, Madeline. Thank you, APAICS, for allowing me to get in front of this panel. First, I want to thank Tuan and Amy for sharing your story. I'll tell you, it's inspirational to hear about your journey and where you started and where you guys both are at today. Respect it a lot, and I appreciate you guys sharing with our audience. I'll tell you, for us, Rocket Pro TPO is a wholesale lender that provides mortgage services to mortgage brokers across the nation. Our mission is very simple. Our goal is to offer a platform to our brokers that allows them to grow. And our goal is always to how do we help our brokers grow and how do we elevate our brokers' business while allowing our brokers to actually offer exceptional services to their borrowers. A little history about Rocket Mortgage. I mean, Rocket Mortgage was founded 36 years ago by Dan Gilbert. And I'll tell you, over the last 4 decades, we have evolved into the company that where we're at today. And it's all through hard work. It's all through dedication, grit, determination, and more importantly, to us, innovation and execution is a big deal for us as a company. And we know more than ever, and we understand that with our experience of 36 years in the industry, we're able to help small business owners across the nation in any community to be able to give them an access to our platform, which is our technology, our product, our process, and more importantly, our pricing. So broker partners and small business owners across the nation can use that platform so they can help their borrowers and therefore help them elevate and grow their business. So to us, it's simple. How do we help the brokers? How do we offer our broker partners access to everything we've built in the last 36 years? So in return, they can help their communities and give them access to mortgages and make it easy and simple for their clients.
Thank you, Fawaz, for sharing the work and the mission of Rocket Mortgage TPO, and we appreciate this partnership with you and talking more about how these services can help support the AAPI community. So thank you so much for joining us today. Before I move on to the next question, because I think this is a great segue to Tuan, is I encourage the audience for them to put their questions, should they have any, in the Q&A box on the webinar. And if you are joining us on Facebook, please feel free to put your questions in the comment section. So as a segue to what Fawaz was talking about, would love to hear from Tuan and Amy. How does the product relationship with the Asian Pacific American mortgage broker community provide an advantage when it comes to helping Asian Pacific American families access mortgage credit?
Yes, so I will start first. I am a Vietnamese and I am a mortgage broker. And a mortgage broker is just a middleman. We shop around, we help the consumer by being an expert in this field. So that we can advise them and educate them. But at the same time, we need to have a tool to shop around for the consumer. We want to make sure that when we submit a loan to the lender, we have to make sure that the product is fit to the borrower and the loan will be approved, the borrower can buy the home, and more importantly, they can get a low rate so that they can save money. With technology, with the resource from Rocket Pro, I am able to do all this work on a larger scale. With technology, it allows me to help my consumer, my client effectively on a bigger scale. Like I have license and I have operation in 40 states. So the partnership does help us otherwise as a small, there's thousands and thousands of brokers out there. Most of them are very small. They don't have the resources. They don't have a lot of money. They don't have technology. With the partnership with Rocket Pro, they almost have everything. They have the pricing, they have technology, they have the support, and therefore they can compete against larger lenders out there. And if they are successful, then the consumer is the one that benefit the most, right? They are helping the consumer. So if they are successful, the consumer will be benefited. So that is the good thing about the relationship between the broker and Rocket Pro TPO.
Wow, interesting. Interesting. Well, in general, our people are over-indexed in the use of technology, right? With this online platform, give us a much better way to access mortgage credit without meeting people in person as well, right? Especially during this COVID time. So according to ARIA's most recent State of Asia America report, shows that there are a bigger AAPI migration towards the Southeast states. Their need of housing and reach to different mortgage products is also on the rise. So I'm 100% sure that this particular platform will help, right?
Yeah, especially now when it's, people have different comfort levels about meeting people, going into offices and things of that nature. So I think, the more we have choices and options to be able to use technology, it allows us to expand what opportunities are there ahead of us. Fawaz, can you talk about the role of technology and innovation, and especially how it is related to helping the API community in the consumer access home financing?
Yes, for sure. So for us, I'll tell you, internally, we always say that we're a technology company that happens to do mortgages. It's all about a digital experience and how do we offer our partners and their clients a digital experience, because that allows our partners to grow and scale. It's all about speed and certainty these days. You know, consumers want access right away to a mortgage, and they want to be able to sign docs within minutes and also close at their convenience at home. So it's all about how do we leverage the platform that we built in the last 36 years. And clearly, yes, we're big on technology and we invest millions into technology. To us, it's how do we take everything we've built in the last 36 years and offer it to our business partners, our broker partners, so they can take advantage of that technology and offer it to their clients. Because when you think about it, when you think about a smaller business owner, it's very hard for them to invest in technology. But with partnering with us, we're able to open that avenue for them and give them that route of using our technology so they can offer their clients, which allows them, again, it's all about speed and certainty to us. It's all about how fast can we provide a mortgage to a consumer? And more importantly, how do we get them closed within 15 days? And that's what we try to do with our model is how do we get Tuan's clients to the closing table in 15 days, utilizing our technology. So that's why everything we've built is we're able to offer to our broker partners, because we live in a world where it's all about how fast can you get a mortgage closed today.
So as a follow-up, Fawaz, you just said earlier that, you're a technology company that just happens to do, mortgages. So in that vein of thinking, what are the benefits of moving from a more paper-centric, I think when I signed my paperwork almost 20 something years ago, it was just a stack of papers, lots of it. How does that, what kind of environment now are you creating when you move to a more digital setting? And how is your company leading the way into those sort of, next century changes?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. 20 years ago, you had a ton of paperwork and you had to sign every one of those pages and initial them. So I've been
remember
there.
Like my hand hurt.
Yes, absolutely. But listen, when I think about the benefits of moving from a paper-centric model to a fully digital one, in my opinion, again, it goes back to growth and scale. It's all about speed and certainty. It's really about creating an awesome experience, an experience where the broker leaves the closing feeling good and feeling like, wow, this is different than what it used to be. Because again, to your point, we used to have to sign 40, 50 documents and have to initial every one of them. So to us, it's using this technology and how do we utilize it to provide our consumers an awesome experience for any, especially if we have brokers that are utilizing this tool and the resources that we're offering.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Let me just remind audience members that if you have a question, feel free to put it in the Q&A. And if you are on the webinar, and if you are on Facebook, feel free to put it in the comments section. Let me go back to Amy and Tuan here. You are practitioners in this industry. What are the trends that you see, and what do you think policymakers and thought leaders should be aware when it comes to the housing space?
Well, Madeline, thank you so much for sharing your 20-something years ago experience. I still remember that, right? When you sign your name, it's like, at the end of the signing, I'm like, is this my signature?
Yeah, your signature looks different.
From the beginning.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, well, back to your question, as I mentioned before, we are very much aware of the AAPI migration from both coasts to the Southeast states like Florida, Atlanta, Georgia, Texas, Alabama, right? And the Carolinas. With that said, the mortgage need in those regions are increasing. The recruitment of mortgage professionals, especially those with different language capability, are much needed, right? So, but on top of all these things, I think back in 2015, I still remember, the Census Bureau changed their quarterly housing report to give a standalone category for AAPI. That makes a huge difference because our numbers are trackable and we are more visible. People know that here in America, not just white, Hispanic, Black, but there is Asian, right? But on the social standpoint, that more of these report on AAPI homeownership and housing still need work. I would really urge those leaders in this room to really consider start tracking and most importantly, reporting the AAPI data. That will not just help us, but help you show that your work and you also care about our community. So, Tuan, what do you think?
Yeah, I think we need to do something. Home price are going up across America at a fast pace. I mean, 20% last year, this year, another 18%. A lot of low-income people, especially immigrant from Asian Pacific country, will suffer. The dream of home ownership going to be our bridge for many of them, and it will get worse. What happened is our system always favor the rich, the have and the have not, right? If people that have low income, low job, they cannot afford to buy a home, and they will be forever not owning a home. So we need to do something. And I believe that in America, I have a lot of talk show on radio and TV. Whenever I go on air, I told my listener that please buy a home no matter what. You need to have one home because it is a lot easier to own a home in America than in any other country. In any other country, you need to have a lot of money, 20% or more in order to buy a home. In America, you only need 3% down. So I told them, I educate them that you don't have to have good credit score. You don't have to have a lot of money to buy the home. There's a lot of ways you can buy a home. And education is important. And I believe that brokers community is the best thing in the country to help the minority, to help the poor, to educate them and advise them, guide them, and help them to become a homeowner. So we need to have some policy to help broker so that in turn the broker can help the local community. Right now, as you can see, many lenders out there are favor the richer, the one that can afford and well qualified. But the community that not qualified is being ignored right now because it takes so much time and energy and effort to help someone low income to buy a home. So it's not an easy way for lenders out there to make money. So they focus on someone that they focus on something easy for them to make money. So we need to focus more on helping the broker community if we want to help the minority, the Asian Pacific American out there.
Thank you for that input. We've got some really great questions here from the audience, so I'm excited to be able to share that with you. So one of the questions that they ask, and I think this is applicable to all three of you, we talk a lot about accumulating multi-generational wealth. What does that mean for us as a community, as a constituency? So what advice do you have for AAPI professionals to increase their mortgage/housing literacy? What sort of tools and resources, tips that you would want to provide? Amy, we'll start with you.
Well, absolutely. Within, ARIA, there are a couple of the policy plans that we've been advocating, right? One of the most important challenges that we see from our community are language access. So for whatever program or resources that people have, should have different language capabilities so people will be able to understand what that document means, right? A lot of times, that as Tuan just mentioned, buying a home, you don't necessarily have to have 20% down. If your credit is less than a little bit perfect, you can still get into homes. Those are the opportunity for other people, right? So Tuan, I've been reading our State of Asia America report, and I see the Vietnamese community come in either first place or second place in most of the regions in terms of homeownership percentage. maybe your hard work pays off there and indicate that.
Thank you. Thank you. So basically, we need to understand our community before we can help them. We need to really know what they want, what are the needs. And I'm pretty proud of myself that I'm able to help a lot of Vietnamese out there. But I try to I try to go to different community like the Filipino and help them. But it's always a challenge because we don't speak the same language. We don't. They are confused. The mortgage industry is very confusing, and basically we need to somehow create an environment where the consumer is more comfortable with us, with our service, and speak the same language and understand the process. And this is really difficult for someone that don't speak the same language to go in and try to help them. And that is the reason why we need to promote the broker community. And within the broker community, we need to make sure that the broker can have all the knowledge and the understanding of their community before they can help the consumer.
Fawaz, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I'll tell you, I mean, we talked about how you did a mortgage 20 years ago and how do we do a mortgage today. And when I think about this, I think that we're at a day and age where we all have access to information. You literally go online and you're able to obtain information. So I highly, recommend that if someone is interested in mortgage, in getting a mortgage or obtaining a home, is to do your research, go online and read about the process and read about how you can educate yourself, and more importantly, reach out to your local brokers. Like, you have brokers in your community that you can utilize, but ask questions, subscribe to blogs, and just get yourself very familiar with the entire mortgage process. It's not a hard process, but if someone is doing a mortgage once every 10 years, it's different. So do your homework and just reach out to in your communities. And I also, like, when I think about it from a mortgage standpoint, Tuan and Amy, like, I think we can play a role as well in getting in front of the community and doing some of these call them town halls or something, where we're talking to consumers, future buyers or future someone that wants to refinance. We're getting in front of the community and we're talking about their opportunities and giving them and just speaking to them about mortgages in general. But do your homework for sure.
Yes, I would like to chime in, Tuan. You bring up a good point, is that, I think that if any of the mortgage broker here on the call, make sure diversity and inclusion are very important. If you have different people that speak different languages in your office, I tell you, you conquer the world. You capture all aspects of businesses.
Yes, that's why we try to diversify our workforce and make sure that our staff can speak all kinds of languages. We are even looking for people that speak Polish and Russian. We have a staff that speak Filipino, Chinese, Korean, all kinds of languages, so that we can help the consumer better.
Well, that's a really great segue to another audience question, which asks, where can we find a network of linguistically capable service providers in the home purchase process? So they're looking for not only just the mortgage lenders, they're looking for title agents, home inspectors, home insurance agents. So what suggestions do you have for them in terms of the entire process, not just where it starts, ends with, the mortgage, the brokers itself?
So, Madeline, may I answer this question?
Sure, please jump in.
Absolutely, join into ARIA, be a member and participate locally. We have 42 chapters across the US and also 17,000 members that are practitioners, affiliates. So you can absolutely connect. One story I really wanted to share quickly is that during our national convention, there is a Mexican guy who is an ARIA member came to me and he said, Amy, I'm so excited to share this with you. He's based in Austin, Texas. He's in title service. One day, his manager called him and he said, hey, you know what? I need help. I need somebody to help translate document for this client. I don't know what language that they speak. So this guy was like, hey, I'm a Mexican guy. What are you talking about? He goes, oh, because I know that you joined with that Asian group. There must be somebody. So they found out that particular buyer is a Vietnamese. So this Mexican ARIA member be able to find a realtor that speaks Vietnamese to help these people to translate the closing document. So I mean, I'm not selling ARIA at this point, but I'm so excited to see the applications and the networking opportunity here.
Well, I think it's great. I mean, because it's a great resource. I mean, I've had the honor of speaking at ARIA conventions and conferences. And so, and the people who are there are amazing because they all are from different backgrounds and different networks. And, you know, and again, it's just a reflection of how the Asian American community is very diverse and we are not a monolith. And so being able to have, you know, variety of people working with our community to support our community, regardless of whether or not they identify as Asian American, is very important as well. So thank you for, you know, all the work that you do at ARIA to make sure that, you know, things like this are accessible for people. So another audience question that we have is, you know, given the rapid increase in home prices, how can national mortgage lenders ensure appraisers they send have localized knowledge of the local housing community or the local housing market? Who wants to take that one?
I can answer that one. So for us as a company, we work with several national AMCs, and basically these are appraisal management service companies, and they provide services all over the country. And one of the things that we're always focused on is we want to make sure that our AMCs are using local appraisers that know the market. But I think what some of the confusion sometimes that we see in the market is it's all about data, and some you'll see appraisals, they'll use different data than others. And that's where we're always working very closely with our AMCs to make sure that we're using local experts in that area, and we're using data that's accurate to make sure that we deliver to our borrowers and our consumers accurate appraisals. It's all about making sure that we're using local experts, and that's why we have several national. We don't just use one; we use several national AMCs to be able to deliver that service to our borrowers and to our brokers.
Any other input from Amy or Tuan?
I can speak based on my experience. The last few months was terrible for the mortgage industry, for the consumer, because there's a shortage of appraiser. And normally an appraisal report costs about $500, but in the past few months it was jacked up to $1,000, $1,500 each. It's just ridiculous, and it's hurting the consumer. Of course, having the correct and more accurate appraisal report is important, but also the pricing is important too. And I think the Congress, we should do something to solve the problem.
Well, I think that's one other, I think ARIA, you have a policy committee, right? As a part of ARIA's work. So maybe that is something that ARIA can also take note of.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. We've been looking into that. And also, it is interesting as a practitioner, what I always do is that because of the tight inventory, home prices been going up like crazy. So appraisal issue is pretty common. So what I do is that every time when I know that there is an appraiser appointment, I'll just print all the comparables and laid it in the kitchen counter for the appraiser reference. I'm not influencing your pricing, but you know, here are some of the most updated. Most of the time appraisers appreciate those work. So those will be some additional work that we as a practitioner can do in this challenging market, right? But as far as mortgage goes, a lot of times that, yes, it is true that seller choose to pick those buyer that are with higher down payment, right? Just in case if there is a difference in appraisal value. But what I also see is that there is good mortgage broker out there that will be able to get their client so well prepared And pretty much all they need is an appraisal and also a purchase contract. Then they will be able to close a 3.5% down payment deal. So I think those are the work that, our community have been working together and really trying to put people into homes. So I think the word is preparation.
So also another great segue to another audience question. Really, advice for first-time buyers. Like if you're looking at the map and you decide, and you talked about this with a lot of the Asian American community moving to the Southeast states. So when you are looking for a geographical move like that, how would you go about looking for help if you're a first-time buyer, if you're moving into a different part of the country? And so specifically Orange County, but any other parts of the country?
Well, I will go first. Like in San Francisco, we have a lot of migration, right? So people move to Oregon, move to the South. So because within the ARIA network, we have a lot of practitioners in different states. So of course, first of all, as a practitioner, once we receive an inquiry, we immediately connect the people that are trustworthy in that local market. Have a conference call to make sure the consumer know what they're getting into. Most of the time it's because of job relocation or younger family wanted to move to a location that is more affordable, right? So on the other hand, because they have not sold their property yet here in the Bay Area, so the mortgage broker come in really, really important, that they will have to be able to swing it and really how to pre-qualify them to get into the home and the moving process and all kinds of stuff. So, and again, it's down to about preparation. Don't just call your broker and say, hey, I wanted to move next month. And we're like, oh, scrambling, that will be headache.
Any other thoughts from anyone else?
I'll tell you, I mean, if it's for someone that's looking to purchase outside of the area, we provide a resource to clients, for our brokers. You can go to rocketmortgage.com and you can select, I want to find a local broker, and we have a broker directory that we created where we have list of brokers in the area. So if it's a client, they can go to rocketmortgage.com and they're able to have access to local brokers in their area or the areas that they're interested in buying or buying a home. They could just go through that website and they're able to find a broker in that area for them.
Yeah, I mean, I can contribute a little bit. A lot of time, my client come to me and say, hey, I want to move to Texas or Florida. Can you help me? So first, they want the buyer want to come to whoever they trust the most first. But in this case, most of the broker are local, and they would say no because they don't have license. They don't know about the other area, the other state. So it is an issue right now that it's going to be difficult to find an answer. And normally I advise my client, I either have a network I can refer, or within the network, or I can ask them. Normally I told them to check out the reviews online, which is very accurate. If someone do a good job, they will have a lot of good review, and I advise my client to check out the reviews, make sure that you choose someone local and have good reviews. And broker is always the best choice for the consumer.
We have one more audience question. If possible, can you speak on the issue of Native Hawaiians and Pacific Islander home ownership on native lands in Hawaii, especially considering the tourism industry and overrepresentation of Native Hawaiians in Hawaiian homelessness rates?
Well, yes, the State of Asian American report are available for download at our website, www.aria.org. That particular segment of our community really have a very, very low homeownership rate. I would have to say, some of the subgroup within that particular category actually have only 30-something to 40% homeownership rate compared to 60-something in the national standard. So the challenges is there. So we really have a lot more work to do for this group of people.
Any other comments from anyone else on that? Well, we appreciate all of the questions from the audience, and thank you thank you to the panelists for your willingness to answer them. You know, we're almost to time, so I really would want to spend the last few minutes that we have together to really get some last minute tips, things you want to have our audience take away, for action. So I'd love to be able to get that from them and really work with all of you as audience members to make sure that you follow some of these tips. So Amy, I'll start with you.
Oh, well, we are still catching up homeownership gap compared to the white community, which is like around 14% difference right now. By understanding different product options and prepare ourselves in terms of like credit establishment, down payment verification becomes really, really important. With the migration from the bi-coastal community to the south, because of job, affordability, or school, etc., we now are entering into a much more affordable community that will certainly broaden the opportunity for homeownership. So to me, it's like the tips is for anybody out there. Make sure you get yourself well prepared. Understand the community that you're moving to before you jump the gun. So thank you so much for everybody's hard work here. I know that as one of the questions that bring up to our attention is that the Pacific Islander community are the one that really need help and continue work together to bring more homeowners from that community as well. So we need everybody's hard work.
Thanks, Amy. Tuan?
Yes, in my opinion, I mean, whatever Amy recommended is really important for the homeowner. I just want to have a message for the government official that we need to support the brokers if we want to help the minority, the poor in America, because with whatever happening out there, the inequality will get worse. There will be a lot more poor people out there that can afford home, and to promote homeownership, we need the broker community to be stronger, and we need to help the brokers. I know that right now, the law and regulation is favor the lender more than the broker. And we need to create a better environment for the brokers so that they can in turn help the consumer better.
Thank you, Tuan.
Yes, I'll tell you here at Rocket Pro TPO, it's simple for us. Actually, across our entire company, we believe that if you want to do well, you need to do good by people, and you need to make sure that you take care of your people. And when I think about our people, I think about our team members, our brokers, and their communities. This is who we are as a company, and every decision that we make, we're always mindful of how will this impact everyone around us, whether it's our partners, their team members, our team members in the community. Our ultimate goal, in my opinion, is to always think about how can we help our brokers grow their business, and in return, how will this impact the communities that they serve? Because again, it's all about people, and we want to make sure that we're delivering a world-class service for our brokers and their people. And that's where TPO and Rocket companies come in play, using 36 years of experience in the platform that we have built to offer it to our partners so they can now serve their communities and make an impact in their communities. I want to thank you, Madeline. I want to thank you, Tuan. I want to thank you, Amy. This was great. I appreciate the opportunity to be able to get in front of you guys and in front of APAICS and speak about some of the things that matters the most to APAICS and your viewers and listeners.
Thanks so much, Fawaz and Amy and Tuan, for being our panelists today. Appreciate the partnership with Rocket Mortgage. For those who are on the webinar, we dropped in the chat the ARIA website that allows you to access the resources page. And also we've done the same in the Facebook chat in the comments. So feel free to hop over there and check out ARIA's resources. Thank you again to all of our panelists. We greatly appreciate all of your insightful expertise and all of your advice. For our audience, please join us next week on Tuesday, November 9th at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time. We're having a panel discussion about landing on the Hill with the National Asian Pacific American Bar Association DC chapter. So all you attorneys out there who are interested in looking for careers in public service, this is a really great panel for you to take a look at next week. You can RSVP by joining us by visiting the APAICS website at www.apaics.org. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon, and thanks so much for tuning in.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.